You're listening to the Walled Garden podcast. This podcast is a part of the Walled Garden online community, a community dedicated to sharing and discussing philosophy, beliefs, ideas, and creativity among all types of people, in order to gain new insight on some of life's biggest questions and make the most of how we live. We appreciate you joining us.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Walled Garden podcast. So this episode today is a recording of our last meetup that we had. And so we have Sharon Lebell, Kai Whiting, Jake Bush, myself, and a few of our wonderful members of the Walled Garden. And in this conversation, we're basically recapping what we've learned so far in our inspiration sessions. It's been such a beautiful journey so far, getting to know each other better, bringing new people into the community, and really having these conversations around what is the core structure, what is the core value system, what are the core, aims of the Walled Garden community. And we really have learned so much over this time. And so before we dive into this conversation that we've had, I do want to let you know what the next couple of weeks is looking like for the Walled Garden. We've got a couple of exciting meetups coming up, and we'd invite all of you to attend if you would like. What we've decided on, and you'll hear me talk a little bit about this in this conversation, is that we're going to keep the doors open to anybody who wants to attend the next two meetups, because we're actually going to be going into the first 2 weeks of December and then taking 2 weeks off while the holiday period is happening. Everybody can spend time with their families, and then come back in 2022 refreshed and ready to resume weekly meetups just for our Walled Garden members. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that in this conversation, as I said. But this week's meetup is going to be happening this coming Friday. The time will be specified on the registration link, which I will produce in the show notes below. So click on that if you'd like to attend. And what I thought we'd do in this next meetup is actually tackle this question of what should be our social media engagement within and without of the Walled Garden. Personally, or many of you will know that I actually removed myself from pretty much all of my social media accounts. I've still got a few floating around there that I do absolutely nothing with. But nonetheless, I want to have that conversation with both Walled Garden members as well as Sharon and Kai and Jake, because this is going to be a very important part of the business side of the Walled Garden as well as the community side of the Walled Garden. And I want to make sure that we're all tackling this question together, because, those of you who have been listening for a long time will know that I have many reservations about the quality of communication that can happen on social media sites, and of course, now Mark Zuckerberg is coming out with the metaverse. The great sleep of mankind is what I see this as, and so in many ways I have struggles, and I constantly wrestle with this question, and have been for the past few weeks, of what should be our usage of social media in order to both grow the community and to engage with people. So I want to hear from you. I want to hear from Sharon and Kai and Jake and our Walled Garden members. I want to hear from anybody who wants to come and engage in this conversation with us and share your opinion, so that we can develop a strategy for social media that works for the community. It brings us closer together, allows more people to find out about the Walled Garden, and to really take this with a grain of seriousness, I guess. And then the next meetup that I wanted to have, and this will be the final meetup of 2021, will actually be my official book launch meetup for The Poet and the Sage, my very first book, which I'm extremely honored to be able to present to all of you, and which I genuinely hope that you all have the chance to read at some point. And so, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, you can actually pre-order the book by going to thewalledgarden.store, or you can actually read it right now on the online version at thewalledgarden.com if you become a member. And so, as I said earlier, we are going to have this official book launch meetup for The Poet and the Sage, and everybody is welcome to attend. I'm going to put the links in the show notes to where you can register your attendance. I'd love to see you there. Sharon's going to be there, Kai's going to be there, so is Jake, and hopefully a few of our Walled Garden members, and anybody else who wants to attend to have a conversation about the book, what's it about, why I believe it is important and necessary for our times, and I'm going to also be presenting the first 3 chapters of the book in its audio form, including some music that I've recorded to be on the audio book. So I'd love to see you there. And the final thing that I'm going to say is don't forget that if you want to become a member of the Walled Garden, please use the promo code Practical Stoic, all caps, one word, and that's going to get you a special discount for our first 100 members in the community. We'd love to see you there. And without any further ado, I present to you this conversation with Kai, Sharon, Jake, myself, and some members of the Walled Garden community. First, I wanted to go through a few questions that we've been asked by our members, because I think what I'm really excited about is, we've got this little group of members now on the Walled Garden who have decided to trust in us as teachers or mentors or sharers enough to, invest in us and to come along in the Walled Garden journey and to learn with us. And one of the great things about the sign-up process that we set up on the site is you have the opportunity to answer all of these questions. One of the questions is, what is one of the main things that you're wrestling with in your life right now, that you're trying to figure out. Another question is, hey, do you have any questions for us that you'd like us to tackle? Now, Kai and Sharon and Jake, I don't think you guys would have had an opportunity to read these yet, or these answers, but I kind of went through and got together a list of some of the questions that our members are asking us that we might consider tackling in the future. So here are some of those questions. How can I transition healthily between different stages in life? How can I have the most positive impact in the lives of the people with whom I interact? What is equanimity and how can we come to feel it? What is cosmopolitanism and what can it do for us? Can you give us an in-depth look at the 4 Stoic virtues? How can we untangle our minds from long-held beliefs that we no longer really hold? How does organized religion offer any redeeming value? Sorry, the question was not that. It was, does organized religion offer any redeeming value? Very interesting discussion. Can one be good without God, as many atheists and agnostics claim? How does a non-believer seek without feeling like a failure if he doesn't find? So some very religious questions, which I'm very excited to tackle. How do we live well now to prepare for the future? I wasn't so sure about the wording of that question, but we can figure that out. How can one rediscover their purpose? How do Stoicism and altruism relate? Somebody said, I want to learn of my ability to better care for myself, the close people in my life, and heal our earth by working closely with people who care as much as I do, while deepening my understanding and experience of compassion. And finally, how should we think about contemplation and inner growth versus doing good work in the world? So what I really get from all of these questions, firstly, is just I'm so excited and grateful to be, in this community now where people are asking these kinds of questions and they're really trying to wrestle with them in their life. Because that's the most important thing, is that people are coming to this project with questions in their heart that they want to wrestle with. And I'm going to send that list to all of you so that potentially you might even consider tackling a specific question in one of our meetups coming up. But I think for me personally, that's really it. That's the essence of why I'm excited to be here, is we all share a common vision. And what I've learned over the past few sessions from all of your talks has been that we share this common vision for, as Sharon might say, meaning making, or, bringing Kai into it, the logos of Stoicism, or rediscovering a deeper connection to whatever it is that we're all doing here as human beings, and a deeper participation in life. And so as mentors, teachers, nurturers, at times, as sharers at times, as listeners at times, I think that all of us kind of core contributors to the Walled Garden, we can come to this with those shared common values of seeking deeper wisdom and as Sharon might say as well, liberating the wisdom of the past into the future so that we can, experience deeper meaning in our lives. And so I guess I wanted to just quickly tell Toma and Hans and Scott and everybody who's listening at home what we have kind of planned for our meetup schedule and our teaching schedule that will hopefully for now be really conducive to us coming together and sharing and growing together. I thought what we would do, because originally we were thinking, okay, Kai, why don't you do like a couple of meetups a month? Sharon, you do a couple, I'll do a couple. And then, we'll have like one at the end where all of us come together. But I've really enjoyed having Kai and Sharon at every single meetup, and Jake as well, in terms of their contribution and their input into the things that I might be saying, or just all of our ability to come together and have the conversation. So I said, why don't we forget about this idea of, for now, we might do this in the future, and I'm sure we will, but for now, let's forget about the idea of doing separate meetups. Let's all come together every single week, right? So weekly meetups where we can all participate together and welcome you guys into the conversation as well. And so what we're going to be doing is, first week of the month, I'll be taking the meetup and I'll be sharing a lesson about something that I think is really important and useful for the moment, and hopefully for a longer time than the moment. And then we'll engage in a discussion, and Sharon will take the second week of the month, Kai will take the third week of the month. And then the final week, what I really wanted to do is I actually want to open it up to everybody in the Walled Garden and say, who wants to present a lesson? Hey, Scott, do you have something that you've learned recently that you really want to share with the group? Come to us with your proposition and your earnest seeking of answers to these questions, and let's all engage in that discussion now. So I really want to open it up because I think that from the start of this project, I've really wanted this to be something where we welcome everybody who's contributing their time and money and their engagement and their attention with us, also to contribute the best of their wisdom. So that's what we're planning. And the last thing that I will say is the first couple of weeks of December, we're going to be hosting meetups. One of those will be actually a book launch for The Poet and the Sage, because I really want to have like just one official, this is it, it's out, and a discussion around that. The last 2 weeks of December, we're going to cut it off because it's holidays. Nobody's going to be able to come along to the meetups anyway, because it's going to be, spending time with family or spending time in the Christmas season. But after that, I'm thinking 2022. We start from the first week, our teaching schedule for 2022, and I can't wait. So I guess I want to hand it over to Kai or Sharon or Jake or anyone really, but particularly if you guys could just share, what do you think you've come to know about the Walled Garden as an experiment over the past few weeks? Did anything change from when we first, talked about these things? Just any thoughts and ideas? Sharon, please.
Well, just a quick thing. This is chorusing a little bit of what you said, but I love the idea of us all participating together. I think we're stronger together, and the whole purpose really is we're all treading our paths together. We have so much to learn from one another. So just wanted to italicize that.
Yeah, I agree, and it's just been such a positive experience so far, just having these conversations with all of us, and I think you guys who are sitting along with us now, you can probably recognize this as well, but one thing that I've really come to learn over these few meetups is that each one of us has a very distinct way of giving, and contributing. You guys will know Sharon's like the queen of the one-liners. Here's my sentence that'll change your life. Drop it. I'm out. like she has that kind of ability, right? I probably use too many words, but Kai will come in and he'll question you. He'll pierce you with a question, right? And he'll get you right.
Yes.
Right where he needs to get you. So yeah, Kai, what's changed for you over the past few weeks? Where do you think we're at right now, and what are you excited about?
The same thing, because to practice what Marcellus Rufus and Epictetus did in the classroom, and that involves everyone getting together and me learning off of you guys as much as you learning off me. So I think the idea of every week coming together, I mean, obviously there's going to be some weeks where not everybody can come.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But having the idea that everyone comes together, everybody shares, because that's community. So it's not some, and then we don't get I only go to the ones that Kai needs because I really like Kai. It's not like that. It's like we come together, we work together, and we stumble together. So I quite like that.
Yes.
So there's not this, you don't have this kind of favoritism, like I only go to Kai meetups, or I only go to Simon meetups, or I only go to Sharon meetups. It's we go to the meetup. And that's how community works when you go to a synagogue or a mosque or a church or any temple. I don't only go on Sundays because I like the preacher. I go because everyone's going to be there. So I feel like the idea of community, we're living it, right?
Yeah.
And so that I never expected to enjoy as much as I did, because I thought, okay, this is what we do. We do things separately and we'll work it out. But actually, I think the most fruitful thing is like having everybody come together and everybody learn. To me, that's different. I don't see that in any other podcast. I don't see that in meetups in the same way, because even with meetups, you have one person lead a lot. Because they're saying, okay, of course, Kai might pick the subject, he might lead a little bit, but there's always going to be that debate because we're all equals. We're all equals here. Scott's been here with us every week except one, I think it was, and has always been part of the debate, and behind the scenes have been part of the debate. So I'm really excited about that. I think it's something refreshing, something new, and we open doors. We don't close them. We don't we don't allow for unnecessary favoritism.
Yeah. If I can, sorry, go.
Please.
Well,
I was just going to say my favorite thing that Kai said is just that, and we get to stumble together, because to me that is the foundation, that we're traveling together in humility and willing to be fools.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Simon.
Well, I was going to say that same thing, which is that this stumbling, what's great about the community that we're trying to build here is I feel really comfortable sharing with all of you crazy radical ideas that just have been bubbling up into my consciousness, and I feel comfortable doing that. And I think that's necessary, right? Because I want an environment where I can feel comfortable coming with, if I'm running a meetup, I've got a whole bunch of different topics that I want to wrestle that perhaps I'm not qualified to discuss, or perhaps I'm a little bit more qualified than I think, but I'm excited to be sharing these ideas in an environment where I know that there's going to be pushback, but it's going to be coming from a place of love, right? And care and nourishing. And I think that is going to be so conducive to all of us being able to bring the best of our ideas and the craziest of our ideas and hashing them out together. Like, that's so much fun. That it's so meaningful as well. So, I guess, Jake, I'll bring you in now as well. And also just to Toma and Hans and Scott, I really want you guys to jump in after Jake as well. And if you have any questions that have been on your mind lately that I can add to that list that I read earlier, or if there's anything that you've noticed about our meetups in the past few weeks that you want to share with us that you think might be important for us to hear, we want to hear all of that sort of stuff. So, Jake, go ahead.
Yeah. So first off, I echo everything that everybody said. I think for me, one of the coolest things that I have noticed and that I see being a large part of the walled garden and kind of the benefit of the walled garden is the fact that this is a virtual, global, extremely diverse group of individuals who do all come from drastically different backgrounds, approach topics and approach solutions in very different ways. And that's fantastic, right? Because like an example that I'll give is when Kai did his session. Sorry, my dog's trying to eat something he shouldn't be eating. When Kai gave his session, there was one point in the conversation where he made a comment that, to be quite frank, rubbed me the wrong way. But due to the nature of what we have going on here, I felt completely comfortable bringing it up in the question and answer part and saying, that thing you said, I don't know if I'm on board with that. But then it was a dialogue about, so why do you feel that way? Well, I feel that way because of this. Oh, well, have you thought about it like this? No, I haven't. And I actually ended up coming to a place where I now think about it quite differently. And I'm glad that I do, because I think about it better now. And so to me, it's just so cool that, we have like several different, numerous countries represented now, where we can come together. And like that list of questions that you read, Simon, so many of those, I was like, oh yeah, I could use some answers there. Some of them I was like, oh, I found some answers there that maybe I could help people with. And other ones were like, that's a question I've never even realized until now that I need to work on, And so just bringing together so many different minds that are all human beings that also have so much in common creates this experience that we can, benefit so greatly, both from learning from each other and from giving, right? It's a completely back and forth between everybody. And I just love that, because it's just inspiring to me. And it gives me so much excitement about like, what things am I going to learn from people who have experienced things in life that I can't even imagine, right? And what things could I help people with due to the experiences that I've had. And so, yeah. It's fantastic.
So on board with that. And yeah, that kind of global experience of getting to know people from every, it's really cool to be participating in something that helps us to rediscover the commonalities between people, rather than the so frequently spouted idea that everybody is being torn apart at the moment, which is not necessarily a lie. It's just that we are adding something that counters that in a little way, whatever little way that we can. And so that's something that I think is just so beautiful about this. So I don't know if Scott, if you want to go first, because you've been with us the longest in terms of come along to these meetups. I don't know, like what have you noticed that has stood out to you as important over these few conversations? And is there anything that you think we should know going forward that you think would be valuable for us to know?
No, I appreciate it, Simon. I think I shared with you in an email that I've really enjoyed the conversation and the genuine affection that everyone seems to feel for one another, the genuine respect and the back and forth that's been mentioned. And I think that's part of the community that I've been looking for. And the questions that you shared at the beginning, many of those have been on my mind. And so I'm looking forward to unpacking those with everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we're excited to have you along, Scott. It's just, it's just so cool to see, that you just jumped straight on this ship and said, I'm here to help. What can I do? And it keeps on happening as well. We've got all kinds of people who are, saying, what can I do to help? Whether it's people who are good at coding, people who want to manage our, Discord chats and stuff like that. It's like there's so much help out there from people like yourself, Scott. So thank you just for being that kind of person. You're exactly the kind of person we want on board with what we're doing here. So I don't know if Toma or Hans, if you guys had anything that stood out to you over the past few weeks that you think is important for us to know going forward, or any questions that you've been wrestling with. I'm going to throw it out to either of you.
Well, I'm just excited to join because the same as other contributors said, I'm just excited that there's people from all over the world coming together and sharing their ideas, and some very, very bright people. And I love that there's people from different backgrounds coming together, from very different backgrounds, and trying to make this work. And that's what I find really exciting. What I was thinking about a little bit about where the walled garden would go. And I think I said that to you, Simon, as well, that I love it when what we're doing here has a practical application in life, that we can,
Yes.
that we not only discuss theoretical ideas, that you can actually apply what you learn here to your life, or that personal problems that people have probably can be brought up in. Sharon, you said this is kind of sanctuary here, that people can say what keeps them back in life, for example, and the very bright people come together and try to solve this, and that would be my vision, like a little bit like the school of life. Alain de Botton's, who kind of they have different topics what they talk about, and about relationships, about work, about, well, yourself, about life in general. And if we could really solve people's problems, that would be brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's a real key, Hans, is we it's really hard to know what you're doing exactly at any one moment in your life, and so when I've been putting together the walled garden, I've been really thinking about that. Okay, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Even now, I'm still asking those questions every single day, and I think that's necessary, because if you want to be able to discover what would be the highest possible good that you could aim at, you always have to be asking that question: what am I really doing here? And you just touched on it there, Hans, ultimately, aren't we all really trying to solve deep problems for people in their lives through the lens of philosophy and, theology and wisdom and virtue and all of these great ideas that have been passed on to us through the ages, but also bringing our own unique flavor to it. When I've been asking that question lately, what is it really that we're trying to do here? That's the thing that comes up to me, is like we're trying to really, well, we'll see. Well, we'll see in the final analysis. Like when somebody asks me, hey, do you consider yourself a Stoic? I say, talk to me at the end of my life, yeah. You can judge that after I'm dead, right? But it will be the judge, time will be the judge of, how well we do at helping people here. But I think that we all come to this with that intention, at least. We come to that with that deeply held intention of, we do really all love and care for people, right? And we do really all love and care for our culture. And I think that that's important too. And for the wisdom of the past, and for our ancestors of the past who have passed down this wisdom to us, we care about that. We're not cynical with this information, and we know that it has real life impacts in people's lives. And on top of that, I think, Hans, what's really cool about, Jake and Sharon and Kai, who I've picked for this endeavor, is I know that they're all practitioners of what they teach. I know that because, I've spoken to these guys a lot, and I've gotten to know their heart, and I've gotten to know their soul, and I know that they are practicing this thing. And even myself, I would say that I'm more along the lines of Seneca in terms of being an ill person in the hospital with everybody. So I'm very much sick myself in many ways, but trying to get better and practicing and practicing and practicing. And so I think that that's what's so exciting about all this as well, is just practicing together. Let's practice philosophy and see what it can do for us. Now, Tom, I think you turned off your mic earlier. I'm not sure if you had anything that you want to jump in with, but I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, I just don't want to make a bunch of background noise. But I guess maybe kind of extending what you asked about before, I came here really unknowing of what to expect or what I could even potentially contribute as I hear the conversation going towards. So I think maybe a little background just for a moment would be helpful. I think that the Practical Stoic podcast is really what introduced me to Stoicism. And I would listen to the podcast as I drove from Guelph to Kitchener, which is a half-hour drive through the country. And I really got into it. It was a time in my life where I had just come out of a pretty traumatic relationship. And I had to go through a recovery period. And it was part of that recovery period. And now I feel I've done kind of the recovery work and I'm more into a transformational or evolutional stage. And then I see that you transitioning the podcast into the walled garden. I'm going like, what's this? Right. And then I saw this email come out and it said inspirational. I thought, well, cool. I'm into that. Let's see what that's all about. And so I'm really just getting into this conversation and I see this amazing aspect of community around the world, because I really got out of the Zoom thing at the beginning of the pandemic because I was doing some meetings, 12-step based mostly, and then some business ones. And I just really wasn't into that so much on the screen. But this is a really amazing way to utilize this technology, I think. And I really want to align myself with a passion going forward where I can serve in this time where there's so much division. I hear something about bringing things together, right? What unifies us. And that really excites me. And I don't have, too much knowledge at this point, but I want to hear what has to be said here and find ways that I could potentially contribite in my own unique way.
Right? I mean, you say you don't have too much knowledge at the moment. I think what's cool about what we're trying to do here is we're trying to welcome everybody's wisdom that they've gathered over their life. Like one thing that I've learned, Toma, with my coaching is that like I started to get to a point where I was like, no, wait, I'm being coached by every single one of my clients, because every single one of my clients inspired me in a certain way. They reflected something in the issues that they were dealing with in their life that I was like, I'm dealing with that exact same thing. And we would have those moments of learning together. That's what I'm really excited about, because like, man, there's, we can often listen to podcasts and be thinking, okay, cool. There's this like section of society that is like all talking about these ideas, and they've all obviously studied this their whole life, and this, that's why they're here and they're talking about this sort of stuff. And it's like, what's cool about this is we can potentially bring people together and say, let's unlock the wisdom of, people who don't have a podcast or an intellectual endeavor in terms of, the academic world, but just who have wisdom to share with everybody. So, Tom, I'm really grateful that you shared, that the Practical Stoic was important for you during that time. And I'm honored that I could be a part of that. But most importantly, I'm glad that you're here. And, the final thing I'm going to say, and then I want to throw it over to Sharon and Kai and Jake, if you have anything that you wanted to say to Scott and Hans and Toma as well, based on what they've said. But you mentioned an important thing, Toma, which is the transition into a new phase, into a new time, into a new direction. The thing that really turned me around there was actually learning about Miles Davis. Brilliant artist, even more interesting person, I kind of feel like Miles Davis was the person who understood the logos of music. He changed the direction of the music industry like 5 or 6 times, right? And so he's this freakish guy. But one of the things that he would also, he said in this great advertisement for Honda scooters, he said like, I'll play it now and I'll tell you what it is later, right? Because he was always interested in transformation, there were interviews where somebody would interview him, right? And they'd be like, so tell me about, this album that you did. It was a revolution. Miles was like, bitch, that was 10 years ago. He was like, I don't want to talk about what I did 10 years ago. I want to talk about what I'm doing now. This walled garden project, like you point out, it's the natural evolution of, and this is something Kai taught me, the natural evolution of the practical Stoic. I was learning about Stoicism then. I'm still a student of Stoicism. I still don't know everything I could. But this feels most natural to me now, to bring on my friends, people who I've come to know and love, and to welcome everybody now to say, let's build this thing and let's play it now. We'll tell you what it is later, but let's play it out. Let's see where it goes. Let's see how we change as we engage in this. Do you know what I mean?
So intuitively grow it.
Yes.
Nice.
Exactly. Because
That's really
at any
what I'm
one
focusing
point,
on.
like if I say this is what it's going to be exactly,
right?
Like Heraclitus said, we're in a different river 12 months from now. We're in a different river at the end of this conversation. So to just say this is what it is and this is exactly where we're going, like I get why we need to do that to an extent, right? Which is what I hope we have done over the past few sessions, is to give people enough grounding to say, this is what it is, this is where we're taking it, come along. But we're also giving it enough flexibility to say, we're going to be in a different river a month from now. Let's make sure that we all transform and grow this thing in the way that it needs to, based on a deeper connection with what it is that we're doing. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to stop talking now because I just go off on my rambles. But does anybody else have anything they want to jump in with?
Can I make a quick comment on that, Simon? Kind of just continuing on that question that Tom raised. I think for me, like when you came to me, Simon, and kind of told me about this idea for the walled garden, I was immediately super excited. And I was a huge listener of the Practical Stoic podcast as well. And, that's how you and I met each other and got to know each other and spoke quite a bit. And I think for me, the thing that excited me was I had learned so much in Stoicism, and it had helped me in so many different ways. But at the same time, I didn't necessarily feel like, okay, I am a Stoic for the rest of my life. That is what I am, and I will always be Stoic. And some people might choose that path and it works out great for them. But for me, I'm in a place where I want to explore a lot of different ideas from a lot of different sources. And so for me, it felt like widening the scope, where I'm sure Stoicism is going to come up a lot because that's a big, a lot of people here love Stoicism, as do I. But I also am curious to hear what other people love and what can be added to what I'm currently learning,
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Kai, I think you were going to jump in as well.
Yeah, we're going to grow it very organically. And I say that part on purpose because I think that's what draws me every week. We don't have an agenda other than to find out what is the appropriate thing to do right now. That's it. There's no agenda. Yes, of course, we have to have some structure. Every garden has to have some soil and some bedrock. And every garden needs seeds, but we wanted to grow it in a way that would be flexible and serve the needs of the community, and that community, changes and it is growing literally every week. So I'm just really excited because I don't see that anywhere else, and that's not a criticism towards anything anybody else is doing. But for example, it's very rare on a podcast that you can sit in a conversation and you, for example, Tom, you could hear your voice back. You could take ownership of that. It's no longer something that's passive. You're actually taking control of where you're, the direction that you're going, because you're actually here and you're making a statement to yourself, if nobody else. Say, actually, this community belongs to me and I would like to say something. I'd like to raise my voice a little bit and say what I need to say. And with every conversation that we've had, that helps us. It drives us forward, and it's very exciting. And to hear different accents and to see different perspectives. And I'm very excited about the religious aspect. I was talking to Chris Fisher on a couple of days ago, and we were saying, where do people go who have changed their mind about mainstream religion. It doesn't mean they're no longer religious. I mean, they've changed how their perspective was, and they seek some solace in that, right? There was nothing in, for example, modern Stoicism as a movement per se that addressed that issue. It addressed other issues for people. And so I'm very excited that those people who have a spiritual inclination, who have a religious interest, even if they're not religious, can have a space, because that space there's nothing that really caters to that in a communal way. So that's why I'm very excited,
Right.
because I get to address things for people like, is there anything that's beneficial about religion? Anything at all? Why do I need the Stoic God to understand Stoic theory? To what extent do I have to be dogmatic about it? Right. And I think there's not many spaces that we can challenge those thoughts. We can look really at what the Stoics said and then say, okay, this is what the Stoics say, and this seems reasonable. And what does that mean? And that's what we've been doing. I don't know, Sharon, I feel that you are about to say something very important. So I want to give you, as you're the queen of the one-liners, a line on that.
Oh, gosh. Well, I don't have any bon mot right now, but I would say that, like you, Kai, I too am very interested in our religious dimension and in the things that religion does well. I can't stand orthodoxy. I can't stand dogma. And at the same time, I'm an observant Jew who practices Buddhism, who's married to an Irish Catholic who goes to church, and whose neighbors are Hindu. And I feel a part of it all. And that isn't a kind of cherry picking eclecticism. I'm just ripping it. It's claiming who you are. It's knowing who you are, and then opening your heart and your mind to others for the opportunity to see larger, to see better.
See
Really
larger,
taking the
Awesome.
see
content
better.
point.
That's it.
Just like a quick thought on that, Sharon, because that just made me think of
Yes.
something that I love so much, which is that, we've mentioned this several times, that we see this happening in the world where there is polarization, there's tribalism, there's everybody has to pick a team, and you're on this team and all the other teams are the enemy teams. And to me, that is so harmful to humanity as a whole. But what I love about this is that, and this is kind of just something that occurred to me just now, is that I think within the walled garden, as we're having these conversations, for me at least, it's important to recognize that the goal isn't to come to a unanimous conclusion as to what the answer is to these questions.
Right.
The goal is to hear everybody out, because I've experienced things speaking with people who I strongly disagree with, but if I have a rational, kind, and understanding conversation with them, I leave feeling like that tribalism and animosity has been broken, because even though I disagree, I understand now. I understand why you feel that way. You understand why I feel this way, and we respect each other for each other's perspectives.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, I think this might be a good place to kind of wrap it up for today. Much love to all of you. Thank you so much for coming along.
Thank you,
Tom,
everybody.
it was great to have you here today. Thanks so much for coming along.
Great to be here.
And
Thanks
Sam,
for having
Scott,
me.
and Hans.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good
Bye,
to-
everybody.
We'll see y'all
Bye.
soon.
Bye.
Yes.
Talk soon.
You've been listening to the Walled Garden podcast. For more episodes just like these, or to join our community, go to thewalledgarden.com. See you there.